people are thinking something's off and they just a new curriculum or they throw something else at it. I'm like, no, we actually need to just fix the foundation, and then any curriculum can work. And homeschooling just then gets to be fun instead of a headache. You don't have a lot of control over things that your children do and say, but one of the things that you do have control over that makes a humongous impact is the home. I don't need to come in yelling and get really angry at everybody, but I'm in control of myself. You don't have to be perfect at this. Kids are very forgiving. So if you do make a mistake, apologizing quickly, and kids are incredibly forgiving.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. And first, I'm so glad that you're here. Today's session, hosted by Meg Thomas, is all about helping to make sure that we create a homeschool that not only works, but strengthens your family. So today we've got Meg Thomas, who's a certified life coach, homeschooling mom of 7, and a veteran of 17 years homeschooling. So she's walked this path herself. She brings with us a wealth of knowledge, practical tools, and encouragement. So she's going to guide us through the 3 pillars of a thriving homeschool journey. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you, Meg.
Okay, perfect. Everyone, I'm so excited. Thank you for spending your night with me. I could talk about homeschooling all day long, every day. So I just love it. So like she said, I have 7 kids and I have 5 homeschool graduates now, and I just have 2 left that are homeschooling. And it's a party. And I've just found ways that make homeschooling work. And I can see, like, when people are thinking something's off and they just a new curriculum or they throw something else at it. I'm like, no, we actually need to just fix the foundation, and then any curriculum can work. And homeschooling just then gets to be fun instead of a headache. I'm sure maybe some of you are feeling that, like, this is really exhausting and this is really hard. And I would love for you to get to the space where you feel excited about it. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. All right. Okay. So we have, Thriving at Home, Foundations for Your Schooling Journey with me, Meg Thomas. Okay, there we go. So foundations for a thriving homeschool. Easier than you might think, where it is just 3 things. It is heart, habits, and home equals a dreamy homeschool. And we are going to go through these 3 things tonight. So first, we're going to focus on heart. And study shows that when a child feels connected with you, they are more teachable. They want to be with you. They ask for your help. They trust you, and they will follow your lead, just to name a few. So you can see that when you have that connection with somebody, how it makes homeschooling so much easier, because they, like I said, more teachable. Anybody else ever have a frustrated person with math, or like, why do I need to know subordinating conjunction, or why do I need to know this, or whatever it is, the thing that they're frustrated with, right? And just when they have that connection with you, it opens up the pathway to allow them to be teachable. They want to be with you. Homeschool's a lot easier if your kid wants to actually be with you. And when they are younger, a lot of times they really want to be with you. But if you keep that connection, even through the teen years, they will want to be with you and allow you to continue to teach them. And also asking for your help, right? When they don't understand something. So instead of throwing the big fit, getting really angry, this is never going to work, and they're really mad, whatever the tantrum looks like at whatever age that is, of just having that space with them where you are the safe space that they can come to. So there are 4 things that I highly recommend to build a connection with your child. And this is across the board for any child of any age. So the very first thing is to be in control of yourself. And I love thinking of this as being the first responder. I don't know how many kids you have, but if you have more than one, chances are they probably don't always get along, right? So if you imagine, out of my 7, 5 are boys. They're big boys too. They're almost, I guess my 8-year-old's not taller than me, but everybody else is close to 6 feet or over 6 feet tall. They're big boys, and big boys that are rough and love to play and whatnot. And so it can get heated and exciting at the house sometimes. And to remember that I am the first responder, so that I don't need to come in and yelling and get really angry at everybody, but I'm in control of myself. And I love to think of it like a firefighter or a policeman, right, at an accident. And if you were in a car accident and the first responder shows up, he's like, oh my gosh, there's blood. Ew, this is bad. Like, oh, have you seen the back of your car? It's terrible. It would just escalate things. But instead, when we learn to be in control of ourselves, of no matter what's going on, we can really build that connection and be that safe space for our children. This next one is love your child, which maybe sounds like duh, Meg, but I'm taking it a step further of like unconditionally loving your kid. And maybe I should even change it to the word of like your child, because I know you love your kid, but sometimes a lot of people don't always like their kids. So part of that liking and loving your child is looking for the good and telling them. And I'm going to actually give you a bunch of prompts and helps with that as we continue on this. The next one is to set your kid up to win. And this one is one that I see all the time, that by just merely taking care of your kid's basic needs, I see a lot of times a kid will be really exhausted, and a mom will take their kid to the store after store after store, and their kid is tired and hungry and they're throwing a meltdown. Where if they would have just gone home and given them lunch and put them down for a nap, they wouldn't have had the meltdown and they could have gone to the store later. Right. So we want to set our kid up to win. I see this all the time over holiday breaks and over summer break, that people don't have bedtimes anymore for their kids, especially as they get older, right? Maybe toddlers, you're like, I need you to go to bed. But as they get older, of letting them stay up really late, letting them like, sure, just be on a phone or just watch all the movies you want to watch. Let's eat all the junk food because it's fun and it's summertime. And so we're really making it harder for them to be in control of themselves when we don't set them up to win. So I love that idea of setting them up to win. So if they've had a really rough night, like they didn't sleep well, they're feeling a little ornery, like it's probably not a good day to like have them learn a really tough concept in school, right? Like, hey, maybe we'll take it easy because I want to set you up to win. Maybe we're going to ease into school a little bit or play some games first. And then when you're kind of out of your mood or your funk, we can go in. And it's just a great way to keep that connection with your kid. And this one is ignore the stuff that doesn't matter. And this is something I love teaching when I really teach people about children's behavior. And there's 3 different types of behavior, but a lot of the behavior that is just annoying, it's not doing any damage. Nobody's actually getting hurt. If you just ignore it, the behavior naturally goes away because whatever we give attention to is what grows. So when we're looking for the good and telling them and then ignoring the stuff that doesn't matter, their behavior just continues to grow and that connection just gets built stronger and stronger. So part of that with the connections, sometimes people are like, great, I'm doing all these things, but I'm still not getting results. Well, we need to do the flip side too, of 4 things of not to do. I don't know about anybody else here, but I love to run, right? And maybe there's something wrong with me mentally. I don't know, but I love to run and I think it's so exciting. And so I can get the good shoes, I can do the right training program. But if I don't do, like there are things that I need to know not to do. So maybe that's staying up really late or eating a lot of beans the night before a run or something like that. There are things I need to avoid to become a good runner, right? So for connection, there are things we want to do to make sure we're building it and things to avoid to make sure that we don't cause a disconnect. So the first one is yelling and or hitting. And I know if this is somewhere that you've struggled, like I dive into this and with a lot of people that I've really helped to overcome yelling. I myself used to be a yeller. I get how easy it is, but it really causes a disconnect. If you had a girlfriend or a friend or even a spouse or somebody that yells at you often, you're probably not feeling really close with them. And so yelling is a way that causes a disconnect. Hitting, obviously, same idea. Spanking, all of those things can create a disconnect where a child doesn't feel safe and connected with you. Being critical. This is one sometimes I see homeschool moms really struggle with because they're like, well, I have to be critical of their writing because how are they going to get good? And I love to put myself in this of like, if I want to get really good at cooking and I'm trying to be good at cooking, and let's say one of my meals is just a total flop, and my husband walks in and he's like, oh, Meg, this is a mess. Oh my goodness, this is too salty and this is dry and this is disgusting. I'm angsty, so I'm probably going to get feistier and like, oh yeah, like I'm never going to cook again for you. But maybe you cry like, how dare you say this to me, right? And so it's not going to cause this connection. And yet, as homeschool moms, we do this too often, of where we get really critical of the things we do. So we want to make sure there is a way to teach without being critical. And this one is a great one to remember of their actions are not a personal attack on you. So if they go out looking a little disheveled, it is not because you are a terrible mom. If they mess up and they have a bad day and they have a meltdown at the grocery store, it's not because you're failing, right? So, like, their actions are not a direct attack on you. So, when you can stay in control of yourself and just like, okay, they're having a moment. Toddlers have meltdowns. Teenagers have meltdowns, right? Like, this is all part of the thing. I can be in control of myself. I can ignore the stuff that doesn't matter. And then when they're all done, I can look for the good and tell them, and I can keep that positive connection going. And the last thing that really creates a disconnection is force. And force is interesting because it totally works with younger kids, right? Like, hey, we're doing this, but let me know what happens when they get bigger than you and stronger than you or outsmart you with some of these things. It doesn't work. And as they hit the teenage years, if you've used a lot of force when they're younger, the teenage years, I see two different paths. One is the people pleaser, where then you have a child that is really nervous to make a decision. Like, I don't know what to do. You just tell me what to do. And a lot of times then I see parents really frustrated. Like, my kid won't make a choice. My kid won't do anything unless I tell them. Right. And so that becomes that people pleaser, or you get the rebel. And those are the ones that people are like, fix my kid. Right. And I was like, pull back a little bit. And so the rebel is like, I'm done. You can't force me anymore. Right. So those are some things we want to just kind of look at. And then you don't have to be perfect at this. Kids are very forgiving. So if you do make a mistake, apologizing quickly, and kids are incredibly forgiving. So that is our first one, is heart. This next one is habits. And I am a big fan of teaching kids appropriate habits, working on the habits for myself. And if you love Charlotte Mason, if you don't know who she is, please come out of the rock you've been hiding under and read some Charlotte Mason's. It's beautiful. But I love this quote. She's big on habits. And this is this quote from Charlotte Mason. The mother who takes pains to endow her children with good habits secures for herself smooth and easy days, while she who lets their habits take care of themselves has a weary life of endless friction with the children. Can I get an amen to this quote? Friends, I like my own children and the people that I get to work with. When I see mothers and I think pains is probably the appropriate word because it's not the most exciting thing on this planet to teach your kid a habit. But think about it like with potty training, it's not the funnest experience, but when it's done, smooth and easy day. Like, it's amazing. So we are actually going to go into habits I want to give you guys something at the end to really help them with habits and habits of taking care of themselves, habits of appropriate behavior, just a really amazing habit so that you have smooth and easy days. And it's so awesome. Like, if my husband and I, as our kids got older, we could travel with and just leave our kids home. Like, I knew the house was going to run. It's going to run like kids are running the house, right? But like, they can cook for themselves, they can clean for themselves, they can do their own school, and it's magical, absolutely magical. So we are going to come back to that one. So the last one piece is the home. And I love thinking of this in a couple ways. So you don't have a lot of control over things of your children do and say, right? If anybody's had a child make an awkward comment to somebody at a grocery store, that you're just like, okay, like, I don't know what to do. Like, sorry about that. Right. You don't have a lot of control over things, especially when they get older. What they wear, how their hair is, things like that. But one of the things that you do have control over that makes a humongous impact is the home. And instead of trying to control and change a child's behavior, a lot of times when you work on changing the environment, the child's behavior naturally changes itself. And so I love thinking of this if you've ever been to a spa. And a spa is very intentional with a mood that they're trying to create, right? It's very calming. The lights are low and the color, even the paint on the wall is soothing. The music, they usually have some diffuser or something in the air that just smells good. And you just come in and you're like, oh, I'm just here to relax. You can be very intentional with that you want to create. And I was thinking about this on the flip side. My kids love to go to an arcade, Nickel City or something like that. And it is loud and bright lights and loud music and it's flashing lights and it's high energy. And they're really intentional with that energy that they're trying to create of their prizes and like stay longer, spend more money, right? So you can create a very intentional space in your home as well. And a lot of times that really affects your child's mood. So I'm going to give you some ideas And even tell on some of them, just explain like, and you can do a quick Google search with some of these because I don't want to spend too much time on all of them, but just what it does for a child when we do these things. So play beautiful, fun, uplifting music. Like I said, a spa is very intentional with the music, right? A concert is very intentional. What type of concert is the symphony? It's very calm and how you dress, right? And a rock concert is very different. It's loud and boisterous. Like the music in your home can really help. It's interesting. It helps mood. It can help children become calm, but also certain types of music improve memory, improve focus. And a lot of times, if people are really grumpy or in a bad mood, an upbeat playlist, I'm a big fan of like musicals or something that's really fun of just dancing and singing. And all of a sudden, the mood of the house has become fun. We also like to do classical music, something that's just calming everybody down, right? So just being intentional with the music. Limit screen time. This one I think a lot of us know, but it's such an easy go-to, right? Of just like, here, take a tablet, a phone, the TV, whatever. And like we can all be on different devices of our own time. So I'm not saying never have screen time, but being careful of limiting it. And a lot of us probably know some of the things, but if it affects sleep, which then really affects their mood, right? It actually makes them have a shorter attention span. And that can be really frustrating when you're homeschooling and you're with your kid each day and they have a really short attention span. It's like, focus, champ, right here. Like, look at mom. And so, like, just really helping them with that. So, with difficulty focusing, but also can create anxiety and it lowers social skills. So, just something to think about. Display beautiful works of art. You can do art that they've made, right? I've even printed off, oh, I have it right here. I printed off a lot of these free pictures from Simple Joy Art, I believe it's called. And I will print them off. They're free pictures you can use, and there are bookmarks. I've put them in frames around the house, right? But family pictures, we actually have a lot of maps around our house, which is funny because it inspired my children to love to travel. And we have like on one wall, I don't even know if IKEA sells them anymore, but the giant poster of the world map. We have a small map with pins where we've been around the world, right? So beautiful works of art, just things that inspire them. Good books, easily accessible. Easily accessible is the funny word there, right? And it's like even just putting them out, rotating through if you want. I would just even I go to IKEA again, right? And flip a shelf upside down and just like randomly switch out books. And it's funny how quick even my teens will grab some of these books, but just good books and that they can inspire them. And it also just helps their mood. Offer real food and limit how much processed food is in the home, right? So I'm not saying you need to go make all your food from scratch and you don't have to like have your children at home and churn your own butter, right? Like just because you're homeschooled, you don't have to go all the way in, and you can if you want to, but you don't have to. But just noticing their diet and how much it affects their mood, right? So if they have a lot of sugary foods, a lot of treats, a lot like every meal is muffins and cakes and whatnot, it's really going to affect their mood, which makes them harder to parent, which makes it harder to connect with them if they're crazy and bouncing off the walls. So a lot of this I do is because I want to set myself up to win. And I want to make my life easier. And my life is easier if my children's like behavior is a little bit under control with doing some of these things. Another one, reducing toys and clutter in the home. And it actually, when kids have a lot of clutter, they can get stressed and it can create a lot of anxiety. And a lot of times with parents, it actually causes you to feel stressed and anxious, like I'm picking up these toys again or yelling over these toys. And I found it's just easier to reduce the toys and the clutter because then it just helps them lower stress for them. They're more calm, improves their focus. It helps with emotional regulation, right? And when they're emotionally regulated, it's just makes things easier. Keep a simple schedule. Just a way to also help with the children to not be overstimulated, to not be completely burned out. And sometimes as homeschool moms, we can get schedule happy of like, I've got to put you in all the extracurricular activities because I'm worried about you missing out. But part of the amazingness of us being able to homeschool is that we can do it slow. We can have the slow mornings. We can go out and look at a bug. We can, we have chickens. We have a lot of chickens, right? And so like we can get in the chicken coop and mess around with that, like fix a wire, fix a fence, do something, climb a tree, just having that time to just actually be human and actually live, and maybe having some extracurricular activities, but just being mindful that it's not taking over your life. And just the kids need time to have like less stress and all those types of things. And then the last one kind of goes with that of having a rhythm and a routine to your home, and not like an army military of like, this is how we do things, right? But just a kind of a rhythm. Like, this is what we do. We get up in the Thomas family and we work out, and then we come home and we read scriptures, and then we have breakfast together, and then they do their chores, and then we do school, and then we eat lunch, and then they have independent time or extracurricular stuff, and then we eat dinner, right? Like, it's just this really loose schedule, and it leaves a lot of time for us to go do things, be a family, but also like we have a pretty consistent dinners, usually around 6. So I'm not like military time, 6 o'clock, but they know to expect dinner at 6. They know what time bedtime is, right? And it just helps their mood so much. Let's see. So I want to finish up with, and then I'll answer some questions of happy habits. I'm really teaching them how to do habits. And this is so many things that I have coached people through. And it's interesting because it's just a simple teaching tool with your kids. And so once again, that quote from Charlotte Mason. So with habits that we're trying to help our kids with, we want to create this awesome little triangle. And we want to be the example first, right? So if I want my kids to limit screen time, maybe I need to limit screen time. If I want the habit of being polite and a good listener for my children, then I need to be a polite, good listener. If I want my children to have the habit of not yelling or not being over dramatic because they can't button up their shirt, well, I'm probably not going to freak out over not buttoning up my shirt, but maybe I would get overwhelmed and freaked out by something else, right? So just that example. And once again, you don't need to be perfect. Children are very forgiving, and apology goes a really long way. So example, and then taking the time to teach it. Just like we teach tying shoes, using the bathroom, all those basic skills, all of these habits we want, we just need to take the time to teach. And we're totally spoiled because we get so much time with our kids that we get to do these things. And then that last piece is praise. And like I said, with that connection piece of looking for the good and telling them, and I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet too for that as well. So this is the gist of happy habit. Everybody is on this list. So we are not pointing out the problem child or the one that we all struggle with, but everybody is on this list of a habit that we are working on. So dad, maybe he gets on his phone during dinner and I was like, hey, we're trying to be present, chap. And this is not a chance to throw people under the bus, right? So it's like, what's something you'd like to work on, especially if they are older? So maybe dad gets on the phone. Maybe you want to work on yelling, kids hitting. Some clients are like, my kid just leaves during dinner. One of the clients I was just working with the other day, her kid won't eat and then like just wants the snacks later, right? So the habit is simple as eating our meal, putting your clothes in the hamper, no spitting, brushing your teeth, keeping your hands to yourself during meals. That's one of the habits that we've been working on in our family for some of my darlings, right? It's like, hey, during dinner, we keep our hands to ourselves, putting your shoes away, just simple things like that. And so we are all motivated by negative and positive consequences. So I don't pay my taxes because like I'm super excited to pay my taxes. I pay taxes so I don't go to jail, right? Like I am motivated to not have that negative consequence. But I'm also motivated by positive consequences. Like I said, I love to run. And I hang up my medals just like a little kid with their trophies, right? And I'm super excited, and I'm excited to get that medal. There's no negative consequence of me not running, but it's a really cool habit. I'm excited about the how good I feel. I'm always excited for the medal, the new t-shirt, whatever it is, right? So we are very motivated by negative and positive consequences. So the very basic idea of this is like, this is the habit we're working on. If you do or don't do the habit, here are the positive consequences and the negative consequences. So dad, if he gets on his phone a lot during dinner, if he gets on it during dinner, then the negative consequences is he can't use his phone for 2 hours. And for the positive is he gets 10 minutes of uninterrupted phone time. Now you can make up whatever you want. These are just some ideas, right? Because like you're like 10 minutes alone to relax, that's never going to happen. So maybe you're like, dad, you have to take the kids for 10 minutes. But like, I didn't yell today. So I get like, I don't have to put the kids to bed. Dad does. Or I don't know, whatever you guys want to think of, right? As simple as like, can play with friends, can't play with friends. When they're littler, you need to have it be more instantaneous, so it's not the end of the day. So for a toddler, learning a basic skill like making their bed is as simple as toys come out when your bed is made. And then there's no nagging and no yelling and no fighting, because then they are free to make the choice of like, I don't want to make my bed. And it's like, okay, great. I don't need to fight you about it. I don't need to get mad at you. I don't need to get angry at you. You just have that natural consequence that your toys don't come down, which means I have very little toys, right? So that we could do some of those things. And it is crazy to see. I just love this as I see this with clients that a week of doing this, 2 weeks of doing it, and they're like, this is a different kid. All of a sudden they are realizing, like, oh, mom's not getting mad at me. Dad's not getting mad at me. It's super simple to learn this basic skill. And if they master a skill, then you can add in a new one, right? And just continue to do it. And it's so amazing. So we joke, we had our seventh baby was a bonus baby, a nice way to say a huge surprise. So he's 6 years younger than everybody else. And when he came, I was like, I just don't want to parent him. I'm just kind of done. And he threw tantrums and he would have huge meltdowns. And like the kids were like, you've got to start parenting this guy, right? And it was like, oh, fine, I'll do it. And so like he had a habit of not screaming at everybody when he didn't get his way. All right, that was done in a couple of weeks. Habit of making his bed. Great, learned it. Now he's 8 years old and he's learning now he can already fold all of his clothes by himself. He can put all of his clothes into the dryer. And this summer, his new habit is actually starting the washing machine. He can weed the yard. He can not mow. He can vacuum. He can wipe down a bathroom, right? Like he's getting better and better and better. And all it takes is that like example, right? Teaching them and then praising them and giving them that positive attention. So it's really, really an amazing thing. So I want to make sure, I am going long. So sorry, I'll try to wrap this up then quickly. So praise is a big way to do it. Think about this as what is that called? Mad Libs, where you just kind of fill in the blank. And here it is. I notice, I see, I hear, seems to me, fill in the action or the emotion they had, the quality or character trait. Sarah, I notice that you're playing softly with the baby. I appreciate how gentle you are. Tammy, I can see that you're feeling frustrated with your math, and yet you are sitting here trying to figure it out. You're so amazing at handling frustration. This one is so great when you have a kid like ready to hit somebody. Like Fred, it seems to me that you're feeling really angry with your sister. I'm so proud of you for staying in control of your body and not harming anyone. This is everything. And when I started doing this with my kids, so my oldest kids are in their 20s, right? And so they were all younger doing this. And they're like, we know what you're doing. Like, hey, I noticed you put your sock on like a champ. Like, hey, I see that you brushed your teeth and that's awesome. They're like, we know what you're doing. And we love it. This is amazing. Thank you so much. So your children will thank you for this. So I saw some questions in the chat. Let me open that up real quick and see if I can just answer a few of those. Okay. I'll just try to answer a couple of these so I don't keep you guys on here too long. What about when they're older and the habit of something like treating siblings with respect? How do you handle that gray area where there's not a hard line of good behavior, bad behavior? Stephanie, that is an excellent question. You can't have a gray area. You've got to define what respect is. So you'd have to get very clear of like, you can't say like you are so stupid. You can't say a word that is like meant to tear them down, right? So very specific. You can't slap them. You can't take their stuff. So it's very clear of what respect is, because we could all define respect in such a different way, right? Like what I may think is totally fine, a kid making a joke, somebody else would be like, oh, that is disrespectful, right? So we're not going to do any gray area because it's too hard and it's a moving target. And then they'll give up. They won't care. So that is a really, really good question. Movie soundtracks, yes, those are really fun. A Pandora list, yes. Anything like that's really fun. I love that idea. Who's the artist mentioned? Oh, Simple Joy Art. Yes, that's where I download the free stuff that you can grab those for. Music recommendations. Sorry, I'm going up backwards, so maybe this will be exciting as I'm doing it. You can also do Spotify. I like Spotify is what I use, and it actually made me a classical music for kids. Best arias for opera music. Anything like that for music is so much fun. All right. Did I get all those questions answered? Okay. How do you nurture sibling relationships? This is a great question, and I'll end with this question because it's so interesting. So just like we have the triangle with the example, teach praise, to help sibling relationships, a lot of times we need to take ourselves out of it. So siblings are going to fight and they're going to maybe be annoying to one another. And we want to teach them about that. But they're also learning really amazing social skills by testing out some bad behavior on their siblings, right? Like if I don't know what anybody else's siblings did with each other, but like crazy things that you would do, chase somebody around, like, I'm going to get you, and you start learning that that's an inappropriate behavior. Slapping a sibling, hurting a sibling, something like that, that you start learning like, oh, I don't like this. So I don't have the list in front of me, but things that you learned with like sibling contention, you learn problem solving skills, you learn how to mediate, you learn empathy, you learn a lot of really amazing skills with siblings. So a lot of times it's just removing yourself because it's us getting worried, like, oh, they're fighting. So if there's no damage being done and nobody's getting really physically hurt, and our role with especially with boys is like blood is when I will step in. And even then it's like, are you good? And so I may ask that question, but I actually spend more time teaching, like meeting as a family and like, hey, when we have a problem, what is something we could do? So that would be like a great topic, sibling rivalry, sibling contention. If we can do this again, that would be a really great one to dissect. But a lot of the time, if not damage isn't being done, we can just ignore it and step out of it, and they will naturally learn things. So friends, thank you so much for letting me come. If you want to scan this little code, that will give you the Happy Habits download. That will give you a blank page and kind of going over it and some ideas for it as well. And I can put that, the link, I'm sure I could get that emailed out with everything else so that you guys can just download that. So thank you so much. And thank you for spending your night with me. Kendall, is there anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you all for joining. We'll make sure to send the recording out along with any links. So Meg will make sure to get the link to your site and the handout too. Thank you so much for your
Awesome.
time.
Thank you, everybody.